earlier use the exact same pathway, and we're looking the exact same darkness as these ones that's coming up. So I have a feeling that they've been utilizing the water that's at the backside of the dam, where Tristan had Hassana interacting with that little baby elephant several weeks ago, and then coming through to the main dam and then utilizing the main dam as well. So we're going to go park in a similar spot because it allows them space to move themselves. They've smelled us, they know that we're here, they've seen us, they're aware, we're not a surprise. Also, Senzo and I have pretty relaxed vibes, so they might choose to go up on the dam wall, or they might choose to take the same pathway. We will let them decide. Alright, so elephants. What else can we chat about with elephants? Elephants are absolutely fascinating. They are the architects of the bush. They dictate what sort of large trees we have around. Philip, you're asking, can elephants swim and actually float? Yeah, they can. Look, it's not like they can do the backstroke, but yeah, they can. They're a mammal like we are. They've got similar internal organs, so they can swim and they can roll around, and they do indeed float. From a physical standpoint, a physics standpoint, yeah, indeed. I don't know if they would they can't really lie on their backs like we can and then float like that, but I've seen them cross extremely deep waters. I've seen them get into deep water and sort of roll around. Here we are. She's also looking pregnant. We've seen quite a few pregnant females. In a normal scenario, they give birth sort of every 4 to 6 years. And the younger one behind her is probably about 6 to 8 years old, right around in there. She's choosing to go behind us rather than in front of us. One of the reasons why she might be choosing to do that is the angle of the sun behind us. If she goes in front of us, she's going to be looking directly into the sun, which means she can't see properly. So by going behind us, she can see us well. That's that little one. He's been sniffing behind Mom. He's trying to get up and nurse, but he's too old, so Mom's pushing him away. He's he's annoyed with her. Sorry, Adele, your question was, can they get sunburned? Adele, they aren't going to get sunburned like, say, a hippo, but they do have a bit of sensitivity to the skin. So they will throw mud on themselves and throw dust on themselves to help protect the skin, definitely. There's that young male again. I'm not going to turn all the way around just yet. I'm just watching this little boy behind us. He's taking the same route as that other female and the younger male, but he's an older male and he's a little bit cheeky, and he's just watching Senzo. So it's interesting. He can see that Senzo's back is turned to him, and then immediately when Senzo goes to look at him, he's like, oh no, the jig is up, I've been seen. And then he gets cowardly and moves off. They can see us. They see us as an entity. They see what is our front, what is our back, where our eyes, where our ear. They see all of that. They get it, 100%. See that one there that's drinking. It's too old to be nursing, and it's trying so hard to nurse from its pregnant mother, and then she keeps trying to move away, and he keeps shouting at her. How rude. Got another young male coming up, taking the exact same pathway as everybody else, but giving us a little bit more birth. It's just his personality. Lisa, you're asking, why do males have to leave the herd? Lisa, males, I'll put it to you this way. Think of teenage human males and the amount of testosterone that's in them and the kind of shenanigans that they get up to. Now picture that testosterone is inside of a 4.5 to 5.5 ton animal that's going to become a 6 to 6.5 ton animal. And then you've got little tiny babies moving around in there. It's just too much. Also, it deals with populations and genetics. So there is inbreeding across nature. Inbreeding is not necessarily bad. It's just a compilation, coming together of genes, and too much inbreeding means that there's not too many different genes coming through. It can dilute the gene pool, and then you can get scenarios where you have genes that you're not wanting crop up, like that disease where if you cut yourself, you just bleed and bleed and bleed. I can't think of the name just now. Sorry, buddy, you're okay. Muniweri ni moiskat. So. That's another reason, is they don't want to keep their sons around too close because they don't necessarily want to be mating with their sons. Yes, that young boy is so mad at his mom. They want to be mating with other males, and they also like to be mating with adult males. So the younger males are capable of breeding, but it's not necessarily the ones that they want to be breeding. I just need to keep an eye on the elephant just for now, Sens, and I will turn my head just now. Hello, my boy. Muniweri ni moiskat. Alright, he's off. So again, sorry, Senzo was asking me there just to have a look at everybody, but for me, when you have the elephants, when they're coming around, it's good to keep eye contact with them. This is going to sound very airy-fairy and a little bit fruity, but animals do pick up on your vibes, and elephants are extremely intelligent, and they do pick up on your vibes. Since we've got a beautiful view of the rest of the breeding herd and that big male coming through on the right-hand side. So part of that vibes, particularly with elephants, is eye contact, and then also, like we were talking about this morning and yesterday, they've got little slight variations to their body movements that I just want to keep track of and just make sure that they're staying happy. Like this female that's coming up now is heavy pregnant. She's got a lot of emotions, a lot of hormones going through her. Oh yes, my girl, you are going to give birth any day now. Hello, mama. You can actually see the baby moving inside of there. Mama, stop for a minute. You look so beautiful. She'll stop down there and we'll try. Yes, soon. And then our big male is moving behind us just a little bit, so now I'm just checking him out. He's going to come up and say hello to Senzo over your left-hand shoulder, Senzo. Well, no, he's changing his mind. He's thinking about what he wants to do. He's turning around. He's doing exactly the same movements as that other male, the young one. He's debating about what he wants. He's going to turn around, shake his head a little bit, keep an eye on us, and then he's going to come up onto the right-hand side of our vehicle and follow that same pathway, and still watching us the whole time. So I want you all to take note, that female, the very pregnant female that came past, how relaxed she was. He's still very relaxed, but he's also watching us at the same time. So he's debating whether or not we're here in a capacity that could possibly be irksome for him or bother him at any time. So you can see he's watching us with that eye. They can actually look down the whole length of their body in sort of a V fashion, even when he doesn't turn his head like you saw there. Wonderful. Ooh, you can smell him. So he's not in must and he's not coming out of must, but there's definitely a tinge of mustiness to him. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him again in, say, a week if he didn't exhibit some signs of must, that dribbling of the urine behind the back two legs that forms a little bit of the fungus. Where he's smelling now is he's smelling where the females were, and then he's taking his trunk and putting it into his mouth to test their scent to see if they're ready to mate inside. If he's using his organs of Jacobson to do that. Oh, and then now he's just smelling. He did bring it up before. And viewers, I believe you were loving that. I was also loving that. We've been getting a lot of questions lately about elephants and scary stories with elephants, and for a scenario like we just had now, we're sitting very quietly, I'm talking quietly, and you watch them come past, and you watched all of their different types of behavior that they're doing. No wrong interaction, no aggressive interaction, just sort of curiosity or completely ignoring us, maybe a little bit of slight interest. And notice as well that most of the interest came from the young males as opposed to the females. The females were much more secure in their decisions they were making, and the males struggle with trying to prove that they're big males, and oh, wonderful, and also just following the females. I didn't do it. You're asking what would happen if the tusks grew into each other. So I didn't do it. I've never seen them grow into each other, but I've seen them crisscross to the point where they're touching and rubbing against each other, and then they've just kept growing like that in a sort of X-type fashion. And then, yeah, again, they just deal with the hand that they're dealt with and carry on. We could learn a lot from elephants. That's my philosophical thought for today, everybody. Learn a lot from elephants and just deal with what we're dealt and carry on. Skew tusks and all. So normally he would have a longer drink, but his females have gone off with those younger males as well, so he doesn't want to get too far behind, especially if my assumptions are correct and he is starting to get into the process of muss. But I could be completely wrong. I don't speak elephant. I can just guesstimate, but that would be my guesstimate for sure. I mean, look how he's smelling while he's walking. Elephants usually walk with their trunks out in front like that, and they're actually checking to see that they don't step on anything that could hurt them. But he's physically smelling each place where all of the females that have walked through today. There he tests with the organs of Jacobson. We don't have organs of Jacobson. The way that I could equate this is if you go to your local watering hole and you sit next to a lady that smells real nice and you decide, yes, I like her, I'm going to ask her on a date. You've picked up on her pheromones and her smells, and something's registering availability. It's similar to that. I can't think of another way to put it. But all of these mammal species that we're seeing out here have that organ and use it. Females will also use it to test other females' urine, to test to see whether they're an estrus, obviously not for mating, but just for keeping everything in check and seeing what's happening. Senzo, you read my mind. I was just about to say, and our fish eagle is here. And before I could even open my mouth, Senzo was there on the camera. It's our Chitwa fish eagle. We have two of them here. I couldn't tell you if this is the male or the female. From eyeballing it right here with the size, I'm going to go with the female. But it's always better to have the pair. The male is smaller. Now, unfortunately, this fish eagle has not been fishing the whole time we've been here. Probably a little bit to do with this very strong wind that we've been feeling. Or maybe it's full. It's also going to be dark shortly, not shortly, let's say the sun's going to go down, and I would guesstimate 15-20 minutes. And then another 20 minutes of light, and then after that, that fish eagle is definitely not going to be able to move. We have a lot of red-breasted swallows that are flying around us. I've also heard, there was a starling that was calling behind us, but I've heard some little swifts calling. And there's a lot of stunning bird activity that's happening. We've seen pied wagtails. I'm debating if we're gonna sit here, or if possibly we're gonna meander a little bit and see if anything else is out and about. I actually think what we will do for now is let's keep following this male elephant and see what he gets up to, because he is just meandering and he is beautiful. He's not the biggest male elephant I've ever seen, but he's the biggest one that I've seen here thus far. Although there was a male that Tristan ran into, I want to say a few weeks ago, that was huge, huge, huge. He had a collar. If it's the same male I'm thinking of, he comes from inside the Kruger National Park, from inside of Satara, which is quite a ways away. Really, now as I'm driving away, you hippos decide to do something and come out of the water, I swear. We're gonna keep an eye on that pod and see what they do. Lisa, you're asking how long can hippos stay underwater? Lisa, for 10 minutes, possibly a little bit longer. Because our elephant's not moving too quickly, I'm gonna stop up here and we're gonna keep an eye on these hippos for a minute or two and see if we can get the little ones to pop their heads out. The sun's gone down a little bit more. I'm just going to come around the corner. Ooh, this wind is really blowing. Okay. So I'm seeing lots of big heads popping up. Little heads every now and then. Oh, I ran over some wild anise seed. We've got this really, or wild anise rather, this really amazing little plant. I don't know if you've ever cooked with anise seed, but it's wild anise. It smells like that, almost with like a licorice tinge to it. That's all I can smell right now. It smells delicious. There's little heads poking up. They're watching us. We're interesting to them. Something that I found very interesting during our whole elephant interaction around the dam this afternoon is that the hippos didn't do anything. Usually hippos get super annoyed when that many elephants come close to them, but these ones really didn't do much. They just sort of sat and let it happen. Hey buddy. He's very curious in us, this little one. Our wind is blowing very strongly from behind us, so they can smell us very well. Joy, you're asking, sorry, Joy. Joy, you're asking, will hippos wait until Ellie's leave to get out of the water? I've watched a hippo come barreling out of the water to chase a young male elephant off. But in general, elephants tend to be grumpy, bossy, and a little bit mean when they're drinking water, so everything tends to sort of move off. During a bad drought many years ago, I watched a female elephant whose herd had been really struggling with food. She actually killed a white rhino that was coming down to drink. They just got in a big fight. She couldn't handle the thought of sharing any sort of resource with this rhino. But the hippos, they're pretty self-assured, and yes, they can be a little bit cranky, but I personally haven't seen too much interaction. I would go with the waiting a bit until they move. But then also, Joy, the elephants have left, but it's still quite warm and it's still sunny out, so it's not even time quite yet for the hippos to get out. During the winter time, when they're getting out more during the day, yeah, you might see some differences. Philip, you're asking if we can look for the baby hippo. So where we've been sitting, there's two of the youngsters, and he's here, but he's been popping up and down. He's going to be much bigger than he was sort of 3 weeks ago. So one of these little heads that keeps coming up is the one that you are looking for. But he's got another youngster that's similar in size to him, so it's very hard for me to tell the two of them apart. And then we've got an even smaller one that we saw the other day that will definitely be a different size from those two. And then we've got another elephant, Senzo. Did you see? It's like the day of the male elephants. He's over on the backside there. We'll wait for him to get closer before we show him. There we go. There's possibly, Philip, the hippo, one of the hippos you were looking for, because you can see now the two little heads, one little head's there, and then just to the right is another little head. They're basically the same age, so you can see what I was seeing there. Not that they're from the same mother. I've never heard of hippos giving birth to twins. As far as I know, they only give birth to one. Paul, you're asking, do baby hippos suckle from their mothers? Paul, they do indeed suckle from their mothers. Hippos are mammals just like we are, so they nurse from outside using teats, the same as any other mammal, and they nurse under the water, amazingly enough. So they mate underwater, they give birth underwater, and then they nurse underwater. And we were really lucky. Last week, we saw the afterbirth of a hippo being eaten by another female. I'm sorry, Curse, I was talking too loud in my own head. Can you repeat for me, please? Hippos reach adulthood. Yes, you all ask the greatest questions. You really make my brain function on a very high level every day. I am gonna thumb suck this one because I cannot tell you for precisely off the top of my head, but I would go with 3 years old. That would be my guess. 3 years old. I don't know if someone has a different answer from me, but that would be my guesstimate. Maybe as much as 4, but yeah, let's say 3 years old. They should be big enough by then. A buffalo is fully mature and sexually reproductive at 3 years old. They're relatively the same size. Yeah, I would go with 3. Oh, this nice sunlight's coming through again. And then they're gone. They're having a fat little tea party down under that water there. Okay, our other elephant that I got excited about does not want to move from the spot that he's in. Oh, thanks, Senzo. I love those weaver's nests over there. I just find that whole dead leadwood tree with the multiple different types of weavers, and on the back side of it is where that that Egyptian goose is living on. That whole setup just makes me a very happy chappy. Okay, as we've been sitting here watching our hippos, our big male elephant has meandered off. I would like to follow him that way. I also just want to check the inflow area. We've done a nice job with the outflow of the dam. Thanks, hippos. And see if maybe anything is back there. Sorry. Told you it was very windy. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I'll hold on to my hat. Sorry about that, everyone. Oh, we've got a new water bird for us. We've actually got an amazing collection of water-related fowl. I'm not seeing, sorry, Senzo, it flew off the one that I wanted to show you. So we've got an Egyptian goose that's on this log that's here, and then behind him is, I don't know, Senzo, like 15 Egyptian geese. Look at them. So Egyptian geese are normally quite territorial. I really could not tell you what's going on here. Now here's an interesting question I'm going to throw out to all of you, because this is something that I have been debating, with a couple of friends of mine. So Egyptian goose mate for life, but in a scenario like this, will they choose possibly another mate in a season? So basically, if you've chosen your mate and you're going to stick with your mate and then that's it, but then you're having, this looks like a lek or an arena to me, which is something that happens with frogs and some different bird species where males come with some females that are there and they sort of choose their mate for the season, yeah? So I'm thinking in my head, and I'm thinking out loud to all of you, that in some scenarios, Egyptian geese will be seasonally monogamous as opposed to lifetime monogamous. Just as a thought. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have the answer for you. Maybe someone out there has the answer, but that's where my brain's going. Marianne, I knew this question was going to come up, and I've been sitting here in the back of my head while I've been talking going, oh my goodness, this question is going to come up, and I cannot remember the defining factors enough. So Marianne, you're asking, what makes a duck and a goose? And I've literally been sitting and going, oh my goodness, Mel, you're going to have to remember all of these points because this question's going to come. So Kirst, you read my innermost deepest thoughts. Marianne, you read my innermost deepest thoughts. What I can remember right now off the top of my head has a little bit to do with foot structure, and it also has to do with where they nest. So geese will make a platform nest sort of closer to the ground, and then ducks will go into holes in trees sometimes. And it also has to do with where they roost. Marianne, I'm gonna have to pull a mulligan on this one and say that I need to go home and read and get back to you, because it is not, that file 13 information is not coming through. Marianne, I'm assuming you're in front of your computer. I don't know if you want to Google it and you can teach me something for the day or remind me something for the day, because my brain is not kicking into that file. It's not even in file 13. It's probably in file 85, stuck way at the back collecting cobwebs. So Kirst is saying that geese have longer legs and longer necks. And what was the last thing, Kirst? And then Kirst is also saying that ducks are just smaller than geese. Kirst, is that are you saying that's for all species across the world, or is this, is it a generalization? I'm just curious. I'm honestly curious right now. Pretty generalization, yeah. Thanks, Kirst. So Kirst is helping me out. She's sitting in the FC and going, haha, Noelle, you can't answer your question. Let me use the Google. Thank you, Kirst. I love you. And then you did say something about the plumage, but I didn't catch the full thing. And then Kirst is saying that ducks have brighter plumage than geese. Interesting. All right. Lots of food for thought for me when I get home. I'll be going home way past my bedtime this evening and doing a bit of research, but that's what I love about what I do. The sun is actually starting to hit the clouds really nicely behind us. I keep saying we're going to follow this elephant, and then I keep getting distracted. I actually just want to turn us a little bit so that we can view this beautiful sunset, because as everybody knows, we love a sunset and a sunrise around here. I feel like I'm talking like Tristan today. It's still a little bit high. All right, we'll follow our elephant and then we'll get to our sunset. I literally have never seen this many Egyptian geese together. What are you doing? And you thought 2 Egyptian goose were noisy. Thanks, Senzo. Everyone, yay, Senzo, that was amazing camera work as always. So while I've been chatting to everybody, I have not been keeping an ear out on the Game Drive radio, which sometimes matters and sometimes doesn't matter, but I think I just want to do a little bit of a check-in and see if the guys have found anything close by that we might want to have a gander at. Afternoon again, stations, could I get an update for the last hour, please? Any stations mobile on Chitwa with an update? Alright, no one wants to talk to me, so that either means that they're off and about somewhere else, or it's a quiet evening. We've got beautiful waterbuck in front. Fuzzy little waterbuck. The one on the left is a tiny little male, teeny tiny horns there, beautiful light on their faces. Some Nyala in the background. And a confusion of guinea fowl just in front of them at their feet. So the temperature has dropped considerably. So we're getting quite a bit of activity. It's much easier to move around when it is not very hot and you're not in threat of dehydrating or injuring yourself, your inside body parts, because you're trying to function when it's too warm. So these two, and then there's also a fuzzy little one that's right in front of the car, but these two have pretty lights. We're going to stay with these two. Oh, there he goes. Since I wanted to show you this one as well. And he's looking. Are all quite young. So the adults are probably off a little ways, feeding themselves, and the youngsters are just here in a little collection. Oh, Sens, that's pretty. Some impala in the background there. And keeping an eye on each other. We've got a fourth one coming through. Also looking like a young male. As it starts to get darker, you'll start to see the adults coming back through and sort of collecting them, and then they'll all lay down. Oh, my earpiece is unplugged. They'll all lie down and with their chests up and ruminate through the evening. And then when it's light enough, they will get moving. Lorena, you're saying these are your favorite antelope. Lorena, I also really enjoy a waterbuck. Really like a waterbuck. I didn't do it. You're saying they look like small fuzzy llamas. I didn't do it. I would agree with you. Yeah, for sure. It is a really stunning afternoon. It's interesting. I was also chatting with Senzo about this today. When you get moments like this, so if I had guests on the back of my car, I wouldn't really be talking very much. I would just be letting them absorb the feelings of the bush right now. But because you all are with me in the car, but you're not physically with me, I have to describe these feelings and these senses to you, which is a very interesting concept, because everyone's feelings and senses relay different informations and invoke different thoughts and ideas for every single person. So it also got me thinking just about what I'm perceiving out here. How similar would it be for you all in that perception? A little bit idealistic, but anyway, so it's that nice warm summer breeze that's coming through, and you know, after a really hot day and the ground's been baked with the sun, and then it starts to get cool, and then the bird sounds are getting a lot more and sort of surrounding us as we're driving around. very cathartic. Sorry everybody, with a little bit of gremlins popping through, so sorry. It's probably because I went through a little dip, and I did forget to tell Kirst that I was going through a little dip. We are going to have the most spectacular sunset. I'm just going to move so that we can position and watch it. Alright everybody, I would be interested to know, anyone that's been watching over the past, let's say 4 or 5 game drives, what's been one of your highlights from any of the sightings we've had with Scott or Tristan or myself or Steph or Taylor? What's been a highlight for you over the past 4 or 5 game drives? I have to say highlights for me have been that mongoose and mamba sighting this morning, and then I really enjoyed that hippo amniotic sac sighting the other day, and then I didn't get to see it, but Tristan had some really great interaction with the Styx Pride and elephants, so I think those would be my highlights that I can think of right now off the top of my head. I'd be interested to see yours. Oh, Kirst is saying, and my Styx cubs. Yes, Kirst, but I can't pick all my own, Kirst. I have to also look at everybody else's as well. But yes, they were super cute. So everybody, what's been your sort of highlights? I'd be interested to know. It's nice to recap every now and then because we are so lucky and we also are so fortunate. Ah, Joy. Joy says the mamba and the dwarf mongoose. Yeah, Joy, that was really, really, really special. I think you could hear it in my voice. I could barely form my words. I was too excited, and I'm trying to come up with the most eloquent way to explain to you exactly what's happening, but you didn't even really need a narration from me. You could see the activity, you could hear it. It was absolutely spectacular. Right time, right place, eh? H. Macy, you're my type of person. H. Macy says Taylor's gerbil. Right, totally had forgotten about that. Right on. Yeah, that's not just a highlight of the past sort of couple of weeks. That's an all-time sort of top 5 highlight. The things we get up to in the bush. Alright, Senza, what's been your highlight? Sorry, who chose Steph climbing the tree? Valerie, you say Steph climbing the tree. Yes, Steph climbing a tree. Very good. I'm happy you didn't fall out. Sens, what's been your highlight? Sens is smiling at me. He says he doesn't have one. Alright, Sens. Kirst, what's been yours? Oh, Kirst also has to think. Senso says you see, Noel, you see. Too many. So, well, yeah, we're spoiled for choice, that's for sure. Kirst says lion cubs and anything that's been babies. Kirst, is Tori with you in FC? What's been Tori's like? Tori says lion cub. So Tori's new with us, and we've sort of thrown her into deepest, darkest Africa and said, and by the way, here you go, and she gets to learn all this crazy technical stuff that I have no idea what's going on, but she then gets to watch what you all get to watch and live out here. And so it must be such a huge sensory overload. I forget sometimes because I've been doing this for such a long time that it's nice to see it through someone who's new, through their eyes, at just how amazing everything really truly is that we get to do. See, it's this atmosphere puts you in a really thankful, kind, philosophical mood. And I feel myself drifting towards that. Anon, you're wondering if living in the African bush for long periods of time is therapeutic. Anon, I could not imagine living anywhere else. So our closest town is Hoedspruit, and in the decade or so that I've been in and out of that area, it's sort of tripled in size. And by tripled in size, you know, we probably have 5,000 people that live there, not including all the bush people around. It's very tiny. But even just going there for me is a little bit too much. The bush definitely is therapeutic, and then it doesn't make you a hermit, but it does make you, I'll give you an example. By the time I get within 80 kilometers of Johannesburg, I can already smell Johannesburg. It's because there's so much going on there, whereas here it's all bush and nature, and yeah, your senses definitely become finer tuned, and indeed it is therapeutic. I'm very lucky to get to work outside every day, and for me, just as a person, being outside is, I need it. I need to do that. I don't like to be contained. But most guides are like that. Most guides have some form of learning disorder. They have some form of ADD. They can't sit still. They're a little bit off. We're all a little bit off our rockers, and we have to be outside and constantly moving. And obviously, we love to talk. So yeah, it's good. It's home. Sens, what do we think about this for sunset? Consulting detective, you're saying you need to go back and watch some past drives. Yeah, I would go with that. Before I started working here, I watched a few drives just to see what was potting, and then, you know, sometimes just over my career, let's say in general, I've actually forgotten things that have happened, and I'll run into someone that might have been there, or I'll get an email from a past guest, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was fabulous. And so it's always nice to review, because you guys are with us. You're with us every single morning and every single afternoon, and heading out with us in the bush. So it's good to review and remember and take stock of everything that's happened. All right, so I think let's head this way, since the Styx Pride, super cheeky Styx Pride, went into Torchwood, which is just over there. So we're gonna see if maybe they want to cross back and say hello. And we'll see what else maybe we find along the way. Oh, viewers, that would be interesting for me. Arizona, you're asking how long do I get to live in the bush? Arizona, I live in the bush every single day, every single year, and it's now been in the physical bush 12 years, as a guide going on 11 years. So it's always. And even when I go on holiday, I tend to go to the bush. I sometimes go somewhere else, but my physical work keeps me in the bush every single day, all year round. Viewers, I'd be interested to know, because I'm new with everybody here, what have been some of your highlight moments over the many, many years that you've been watching with different presenters, and what's been something that stuck, or a sad moment, or just something that you can think of off the top of your head that's really stuck with you. We were talking last night, Jandre and I, about the clip of the chameleon walking through the lion's mane, which happened, I'm not sure how long ago, but that's something that I heard about before I even started here, and didn't actually realize that it was from here until Jandre brought it up yesterday. Sorry, Senzo, we can actually see the Drakensberg Mountains for once. I think maybe do you want me to angle the car? Yeah. Sorry, we've had such a cloud cover that we really haven't gotten a chance to view the Drakensberg appropriately. The northern end of the Drakensbergs. There, so we've got the sun and then a little bit of cloud and just the tip of the Drakensberg sticking up. So most of my time in the Lowveld has been spent a little bit more north of here. So there's a feature within the Drakensberg that looks like the side of a lion's head, which we actually can't see from here. And it's funny because I got so used to seeing it, I now actually miss it. And now we're a little bit farther south, and I'm actually having to get used to different landmarks within the feature of the mountains themselves. But it's good, it keeps everything fresh and new. Helene, you're saying that your favorite memory from sightings past, or just favorite memory in general at the moment, is when Shangili came back from quarantine and back into... Yeah, Shangile. What did I say, Kirst? Am I speaking in tongues again?
Cindy.
Oh, Cindile. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of Shangile. Sorry, Cindile. Thanks, Kirst. Thank you very much, Asenzo. Came back from quarantine. Very cool, very cool. When was that? You guys have to teach me a little bit of the history of Safari Leave. Oh, yes. I have heard that story, little bits and pieces of that story. Yeah. That would have been a magic moment. Good call, good call. So beautiful. All right, we've had nice magic moments and restful moments. Let's get back on the road and see what pops up for us. You're asking if guides all go off to the bush on holiday, they drive with other guides. Taylor, I'm not saying that all other guides do what I do when I go on holiday, but most of my friends, my very close friends, do what I do. And yes, we all tend to be guides, my close friends, or at least in the lodge industry, and yes, we do tend to go on holiday together. That is for sure. We're an interesting group of people. And it's hard to find other, and by interesting, I'm using my little air bunnies around that. But I also have some guiding friends whose parents are in Joburg or Pretoria or Peter Maritzburg or Port Elizabeth, and they go home to those places when they're on holiday, when they go on leave. And then I've got a very dear friend, him and his wife, and they save up their money and go on fantastic holidays like to Bali, India, and Mauritius, and they go travel around and do photography. So there are some differences. Look, Senzo, look, it's brand new. It can barely even move. Oh, it's so wobbly still. That was born today, everybody. That's my first Impala lamb of the season. I know you all got to see one with Tristan the other day. This is my first Impala lamb, and it's brand spanking new. Wakamuder. Look at him. He's still even a little bit wet. So Kirst, there you go. There's your highlight. So Kirst loves all baby things. There's your baby. I'm in love. So we're starting to see a few. Oh, look, she's gonna keep. Oh no, she's decided not to. I thought she was gonna keep clean it. We're gonna start seeing these more and more. as the weeks go on. So we've seen 1, 2 friends of mine that work a little bit farther south in the sands from us have seen quite a few. So I'm going to guesstimate next week we're going to start to see a lot more baby impala. Yeah, I agree with you, Curse. Curse is whispering in my ear that we need to see a birth, and that's one of the things. So, impala's giving birth, wildebeest giving birth, and then mating tortoises are my summer. That's what I want to do this summer. That's what I want to show you this summer. Akamudad! Baby impala! Oh, that's fantastic. Night, you're asking what animal in person that I haven't seen yet. I have not seen mountain gorillas. I have not seen chimpanzees. I haven't seen lowland gorillas, so I definitely want to do that. I haven't seen a shoebill, which is the ugliest bird you can possibly think of, but I desperately want to go see a shoebill. And an okapi. I would love to go see an okapi. I really want to go to the Congo, and I want to go game viewing in the Congo. I want to see Red River hogs. I want to see forest elephants. I have a whole list that doesn't occur really in southern Africa or east. Parts of it happen in East Africa, but I've got a really long list that involves different parts of Africa that I haven't traveled to. We've got a really beautiful battleur sitting on a dead tree. Two of them. There's one, and then the other one's sort of hidden behind. Oh, there, hidden in front, rather. Sorry, everybody. I really don't know what's going on with my eyes today. They're having issues, but this is why I'm with Senzo. His eyes are much better than mine. This is a much better visual than we had yesterday afternoon. The sun's in a much better place, and they're out in the open a little bit more, so you can see the coloration much better. The third one is not easily seen from here. It's stuck in some branches, so we're going to stick with these two. And the chances of them moving too much this evening, because the sun's just going behind the clouds now, is very small. They're not going to fly around at night. They might go into the thicker tree where the third one is to roost for the evening, but this is pretty much going to be the area that they're going to occupy. I'm really enjoying the colors. So if I had to choose a screenshot from this evening, this would be my screenshot, everybody. The colors are really nice. They're battleur, which I really like. The background is nice and blurred. The battleur is in really beautiful focus. I would wait for both of them to be either looking in the same direction or looking towards the screen. And all I can think of right now is I really wish I had Tristan's Fix 600 with his converter on it, because my lens is not going to capture this, but our cameras with Senzo are capturing it the way that I would want to capture it with a camera if my equipment was able to get it. They're watching all these starlings flying around them. I'll be interested to see if the starlings try and mob them out of this tree. This tree will definitely have some holes that there's possibly some nesting happening in. Vedic, you're asking what is my favorite bird? My favorite bird sighting. I always go back to the very first time that I saw a Pell's fishing owl. Was in South Luangwa National Park in Zambia. It was hot. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I could hear it calling but I couldn't see it. They hide. And all of a sudden 2 yellow-billed kites started dive bombing this tree, and out flew this Pell's fishing owl. And at this point, I'd been guiding for about 7 years, 6-7 years, and I'd never seen one, so it was on my list. And I was going, oh my goodness, take photos, take photos. And my guests were diligently taking photos, and they weren't birders. So at the end of this entire sighting, it lasted from, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. At the end of the sighting, they went, what is it? So a Pell's fishing owl is an owl that is very, not just elusive, but also extremely shy, and tends to be found in very particular areas around water courses. This is him here. Absolutely beautiful. And on that particular time in Zambia, I did not get a photo, but when I was in Zambia in September, I managed to get a photo, a couple of them, which I'm super proud of. Let me just get them out for you. And the guest that I was with had been going on safari, this second time, had been going on safari for 34 years, and had always wanted to see a Pell's and hadn't seen a Pell's. And then there we go. It sat like that for 20 or 30 minutes. Yeah, Kirst, I'm going to show off, that's for sure. It sat like that for 20 or 30 minutes. And my guests and I were just over the moon. Kirst, I got this little comment from Kirst in my ear that I'm showing off. She also wants to see it. Yeah, it's amazing. You have to show off those photos. And I'm proud that it came out, and I'm happy it came out. And my guest faces, they were so happy at seeing this. And it was just one of those moments where we had amazing wild dogs. We had a, amazing leopard. We had amazing that. But that Pell's fishing owl, after 34 years of safari, was definitely top. Saying that Senzo and I are doing a great job flying solo today. Thank you so much. We appreciate that very much. Even with all of our little gremlins and things, I'm glad that you all are enjoying. So Sens, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Sorry, this mic pack and I are not friends. Not today, at least. Sorry, Holly, what was your question? Oh, sorry. So Holly, you're asking, am I a birder and have I seen any lifers? So Holly, I've been guiding for a long time, but I've only really started getting into birding passionately, I would say in the past 3 or 4 years. And yes, that Pell's fishing owl would have been a lifer. And then I've had quite a few lifers for myself this year. I saw a Bohm spinetail for the first time, again when I was up in Zambia, and I was with birding guests then as well, and we were busy tracking wild dog, and I stopped the car and I was like, look, it's a Bohm spinetail, it's a Bohm spinetail. And they were also like, oh my goodness, the wild dog's completely forgotten. We stopped tracking, we were obsessed with this Bohm spinetail forever. They occur a lot around baobab trees. What else did I got a tambourine dove this year, which was super exciting. Yeah, I've had quite, this past year and last year I've had quite a few lifers. But if you're starting off birding, or even if you're not starting off, if you're just starting off to count birding, everything's a lifer. So until you've ticked it, it's a lifer. I can hear you, cuckoo. Varzii. You could hear Jacobin's cuckoo. I'm still determined to get a cuckoo on camera for you. It's like Byron's thing he was doing a couple months ago. Oh, and it flew away. It's like Byron's thing he was doing a couple months ago to try and get 100 birds on camera for you all. Did you nail it? Sen says you nailed it. Baz, you're asking how many swallow species are in the area? Off the top of my head, red-breasted, sometimes wire-tailed. I would maybe say 6, but I would have to literally go through my bird list for the area and count for you. I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you. So that's more homework. So we've got the goose duck for homework. There go our lion tracks from the sticks down there. We've got the swallow homework. You guys are keeping me on my toes. I like it. I like it. Sorry, I only caught half the question from Valeria there. Curse, please just say one more time. Oh, Valeria, I am doing a solo because we are busy with people that are moving up to down here. So it's just myself and at the moment. It also means that Tristan gets a night off, much deserved night off. James is busy at a memorial in Kenya at the moment. We'll be back Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, so that's why. And then the Wi-Fi feed out of Kenya decided not to work because it happened. So that's why you're stuck with me. Giraffe tracks. Maybe we'll get lucky and get a little Jerry. It's really the most perfect temperature right now. I'm still super. You can find a honey badger or an aardvark. That's been on our nocturnal list species for a while. So we're moving away from our diurnal list species, our daytime species, into our nocturnal species. Of course, lions on there. They move sort of day and night. But yeah, I have not seen a honey badger in a while, and I have not seen an aardvark in a while. I also haven't seen a caracal or a serval in a while. I saw some really interesting tracks this morning where you could see where a civet was walking down the road, and then he laid in the road and sort of rolled around a bit and then started walking. Haven't seen a civet in a while. That's very interesting now that I'm thinking about it. Just after I left Zambia, end of September, about a week after that, one of the camps caught on their camera trap an albino civet. Absolutely incredible. And the person who caught it on camera had, as far as I know, had never seen an albino civet. I've never seen it. It was absolutely fantastic. Pink nose, and uniformly, not white, but sort of light lion colored, but it was definitely a civet. So there's some very strange things out there that pop up every now and then that we don't always get to see. Or even possibly think of. Oh, and then I was telling a dear friend of mine about this albino civet, and he said that he once saw an albino porcupine. So the porcupine was all white.
Albino lion.
A white lion. Ah, so he once saw an albino lion. But are not actually albino. They've got blue eyes. And they don't have a pink nose. It's a form of leucism. It's a recessive genetic gene. Interesting though. And then if you have ever, I've seen white buffalo. It's also not albino. It's leucism. It's leucistic. So it's a lack of pigment as opposed to a melanistic species, which would be an over pigment. You get a lot of leucism and melanism within bird species as well. I saw a melanistic pied babbler once. So pied babbler black and white, and this pied babbler was all black. I've seen pictures of a leucistic fork-tailed drongo. Jasmine, you're asking, what advice would I give someone who wants to be a guide? Jasmine, you have to like working with people. So it's funny because most guides like being out in the bush most of the times alone, and most working with wildlife. But in order for us to do our jobs, you have to get on well with people and be able to relate with people. So you do have to like people on a level. That's one thing. Along that line of thinking, I would also say that any sort of service industry work that you can do. So I was a housekeeper in a B&B. I was a waitress. I was a bartender. I did a lot of service industry work before I started doing this, and that definitely helps. And then other than that, I mean, there's a lot of guide training programs in South Africa you can go to, but it's interesting. I was very lucky. I started doing this about 10 or 11 years ago, and so I fell into the system as someone who's not born in South Africa. I fell into the system at a time where there was a gap for me to be. And slowly over the years, it's getting more towards South African guide base only, which is because live here. So it's very interesting that if you want to go up into other parts of Africa, there's different abilities there. I think that if you're really keen on the concept of guiding, even just coming for a sort of gap year to one of these training schools and just spending a year and being able to learn how we learn is a really incredible experience. So there's lots of training providers. You can go on the Google, on the interweb, and check them out, and see if there's anything that pops up for you. And then my other advice would be to sort of read a lot. There's some really great what we would call Bibles, so Beat About the Bush, Beat About the Bush Birds, the mammals of the sub-Saharan African region. I always mess up that title, but it's Skinner and Shamimba. There's a lot of things that you can read to sort of get to it. I remember our days, our hours are super long. I mean, my first job that I worked, we were doing 18 to 22-hour days every single day for 6 weeks, sometimes for longer. And you work very, very hard, but the reward is, one, you get to do this and do this every day. Watching for me now, it's hearing you guys and hearing your comments and chatting with you afterwards. But then when you've got your guests physically with you, watching a guest the first time they've seen a lion or the first time they've seen a Pell's fishing owl, or I've got a little girl 9 years ago, and she's now gone to university in habits in Australia because of the safari that she did here. And that's kind of why we do what we do, and it's a really amazing feeling. It's a very rewarding job. You're asking, are morning sightings typically different than evening sightings? Philip, whether it's morning or evening, everything's different every single time. This afternoon in general, look, this morning the larger cats were moving around in some difficult areas, or areas that we couldn't go, so I knew with the heat of today that our best bet for getting some really great fun content was to go to the different dams, which we ended up getting at Chitwa. And so that can be different with it heating up during the day, but in general it's so different, and it's so different throughout the entire game drive. I often with guests used to get asked which is a better game drive, the morning or evening, like which game drive do you see most animals, and it's really a toss-up, and you guys would know, I mean, you've watched the show for long enough that some mornings it's like bang, 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 and some mornings, who knows, and the same with the afternoons. It's all variable. Keep up the good questions, everybody. To give you guys an idea, if I was driving and I had physical guests on the back and we were doing what we do now, these are very similar questions that they would be asking, or we would be what we need to be doing, which is searching for wildlife. We're also experiencing the greater area and connecting with each other. It's the exact same thing. So keep up your end of the bargain with your guest experience and your wonderful questions. We love it. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter or on the YouTube chat. Riddick's asking, have I ever been worried attacked by an animal? Trained by one of the top guides in the country, and I have subsequently had many, a nice handful of mentors, I should say, who are also some of the top guides in the country, and they've really instilled in me a very worthwhile knowledge base. So that fear is not necessarily a fear that's come up with me. I do have an aversion, I will say, to running into old buffalo bills in areas that are difficult to extract oneself from. So I try not to be in that or doing something that wasn't guest related. But no, in general, I'm pretty good. But also, your gut feeling will tell you when you've gotten yourself in a situation that you really shouldn't be in, or heading in that way. You just have to learn to listen to yourself, and then knowing your surroundings and knowing as much as you can about what you're doing is vitally important for that. That being said, so outside of my environment that I do every day, I have some weird aversion to sharks. I love them. They're incredible. They're amazing predators in the ocean. But I watched Jaws when I was a very small child. So I get a little funny because I have good friends who are marine guides, and they look at me and they go, "Noelle, you're crazy. I can't believe you in this shark thing." And I go, "I know it's silly. I know that they don't want to eat. I know they're just interested. I know all of these things logically." But yeah, it can be, it's something I have to work on, but that's outside of my work sphere. Maybe I must go and do a marine guiding course or some free diving with sharks and see if I can help get over my fear. Or learn to surf. I've always wanted to learn to surf. Lisa, thank you so much for your wonderful comment. I appreciate your confidence in myself and Senzo, and for saying that we are doing a good job this evening. Thank you. We really appreciate that. I've gotten a little blush. A little blush. So we have a beautiful view of a gorgeous road in the African bush heading straight towards the Drakensberg Mountains and straight towards the last little pink that is left in the sky. Carrying on with our philosophical questions. I'm sorry that we didn't pick up on any lions or leopard snipe, but I'm super excited with the elephant sightings we had, and it's been really wonderful the last bit of the show conversing with all of you and getting to know you a bit better and sharing your stories with me. I really appreciate it. It's also nice because it helps build up a back knowledge for me and a backstory so that we can carry on from here. So tomorrow morning, it will be Tristan, as far as I know, that is out and about. So you guys must ask him all sorts of fun and crazy questions. And you must enjoy him. And thank you from myself, Senzo, the Mara team, everyone in FC and Control and Tech. Enjoy your evening.